All right. So there you go. Steve, how are you, sir? So sorry for dragging that out. I didn't. You okay now? You
Doug, it was perfectly, I mean, that's stuff you need to do. But today is really a critical day, ladies and gentlemen, because we've been hearing a lot of Democratic rhetoric. By the way, I never knew that Dr. Evil had a twin sister that would give him a run for ugliness, okay? So I'm going to call her Sister Evil, evil sister. Whoa. 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 Whoa.
You just made Eric laugh out loud over there. Yeah, really? Huh?
Excuse me. I want to turn away so I don't vomit. Okay, I'm good. Today is really a serious day, ladies and gentlemen. I want everyone to understand something, that the Democrats have been boasting that one way or another, Trump is going to leave the White House. Even Speaker Pelosi said that he'll be taken out of that. What I'm going to tell you today, you're going to have to pray about and ask the Lord to reveal to you. Because we as Americans have been so numb, so dumb, so, how should I say this, non-involved, that our enemies have taken advantage of that. We haven't paid attention. And somebody once told me, you don't pay attention, you pay your dues. Yesterday, Hal Turner put out some intel. I want to make something clear. That guy's worthy of support. He has led the pack. People say, well, he was an FBI informer. He worked with the Joint Terrorism Task Force. The man has access. I double check everything he says, not because I don't believe Hal. I mean, I wouldn't even know to go in that direction. I work for him. But please, ladies and gentlemen, subscribe to him, because he got knocked off the air too, Doug, talking about this. I'm going to read this, okay? And then we're going to talk about this. Because the Democrats are complicit in the attempted overthrow of the United States using a foreign army, the People's Republic of China, who is on our borders, in our towns, in the bunkers, in the United States. And we had the first shot of World War III literally fired, and nobody knows about it, and everybody's clueless because there's a complete blackout on the news. So here we go. Take a deep breath, Steve. Okay. Chinese military troops are making incursions into the U.S. F-16 shot down by the Chinese troops. Pilot taken hostage. The U.S. dropped a 30,000-pound bunker buster bomb, killing 50,000 Chinese troops in the underground facility in Robinston, Maine. There's two events that took place, one in Maine and one in Michigan. There were over 750,000 troops within the United States secreted in different bases. Now listen, the F-16 that went down in Michigan was not an accident. As the Chinese are basically using high energy weapons, the background I got from my military guy was that the plane was cut in half, literally cut in half. So what people have got to understand is this: we are in right now a battle with Red China. I was also told, and this is for the record, that December 10th, interesting, isn't it? I was also told of a foiled attempt to re-commemorate Pearl Harbor using nuclear missiles off of Chinese boomers that was foiled. As a matter of fact, I believe at least one, if not two of their boomers, nuclear subs, went to the deep blue sea. Doug, we have to have a reality check. This isn't fighting for an argument. This isn't fighting for just to be heard. This is, all those things are important. We're fighting for freedom and the literal death of hundreds of millions of Americans. It should piss off everybody. I'm pissed off. It should piss off everybody that the Chinese are already in record as saying they're going to kill every man, woman, and child in the United States. That's by their own words, and I'll send it to Eric. He can put it up, General Haotian, Haotian. It also should make people furious to know that the Canadian government is in cahoots with the Chinese. So much so that even a joint, quote, training exercise was canceled. Are you freaking kidding me? The fact that the Canadian government, and especially Trudeau's government, would allow the Chinese to come in and train. They've already been there. Doug, again, I got to make this statement. I was told 2 days ago that the President of the United States was presented with a secret treaty and agreement between the Canadian government and the Red Chinese, in which China would spare Canada and they'd buy, the wheat and the water but they wanted to use the Canadian, if you will, border with the United States as a staging ground for their invasion. I want to read some things, ladies and gentlemen.
Can I just say this? I just want to verify something. Not that you need authentication. I received a phone call early this morning that said, "Look, this individual from Canada contacted me, who I know and who was part of the intelligence community, who said, I'm going to tell you something right now. This is not right with the Canadian forces training with the Chinese forces. This is in my backyard, almost literally in his backyard. I'm not going to go any further than that, but that's it. And there it is right there. Explosive documents. Canadian Prime Minister requested Chinese troops be stationed in Canada." Steve, you had called out, folks, and I'm sorry. Well, no, I'm not sorry. Steve's been right on so many things, so far ahead of the game. So thank you for that. And go ahead, brother. I didn't mean to interrupt you or take you off your game at all.
No, listen, Doug, you're always, every time you have something to say, that blesses me because that lets me breathe, okay?
Yeah.
Someone asked me, they said, "Do you ever breathe?" I said, "I guess not when I'm speaking." So here's the deal. The Red Chinese, and refer back to the secret agreement. Well, I won't believe until I see it. You'll be dead before you see it. To the skeptics and the scoffers, you better thank God that the man who's in the office of presidency acted as fast as he did, because the previous president, the one that made the nation desolate, the Obama that made the Obama nation desolate, had so prepared their way. So all this secret talk, Doug, how can we have a quadrillion to one statistical statement that there's no way Biden can win? How is it that he didn't have to do anything? Basically, he didn't have to do anything because he knew it was a shoo-in. But it gets really interesting, ladies and gentlemen, because we're not talking about a single bunker of 50,000 Chinese troops. We're talking about a $200 billion infrastructure of secret bases along the Canadian U.S. border to the north, among specific areas in this country where in the United States, CONUS, where absolutely unbeknownst to most people, paid off to the officials that would know, that there is if you will, hives, Hives, of basically pre-stationed Revolutionary War troops, China, that were to enforce a Biden presidency. And this is critical, Doug. So I'm going to read some actual stuff. I could not know this had it not been for the people that know telling me, just like the person that's telling you that. Excuse me. In the world of intelligence, everything is compartmentalized. And even there's clearances above the president. The president gets what I call selective clearances based on need to know. But they're the people on the top echelon of majestic clearance, MJ, both the good side and the bad side, that basically can see it all. So here's what I want to tell people that came to me, and I think it was like I don't know, sometime really early, like last night, and said this: the F-16 was shot down by a Chinese laser hit, which sliced open the jet. Now, this is talking about in Michigan. Keep in mind, there's the Maine event, there's the Michigan event, and there are also other events I'm waiting to find out about. And you'll get to it. The President of the United States is doing the right thing. He has ordered the destruction of every underground military base filled with Chinese in their pre-attack upon the United States, which again, ladies and gentlemen, was to take place next week. Okay? Well, I don't believe that. Again, this is for the people that can at least pray and find out. F-16 was shot down by a Chinese laser hit, which sliced open the jet. B-52 indeed dumped a deep penetration bomb on an underground facility, and the land is registered. Guess what? Guess who it's registered to? It's registered to some very prominent Democrats. I'll let you figure out which one, through multiple holding companies whose even relatives have been cutting deals with China. Does that sound maybe like I've given some hints? Does it?
Yes.
But I can tell you this, that before they took out the main, now this is cool. I mean, we got some, God bless our military. I know they're no fan of mine, or they're no fan of mine, but I will say this, they're doing their job. The B-2 bombers are up. They took out all entrances in and exits out, and then they nailed the sucker. If anybody wants to see, go look on YouTube. I think they still have some of the bunker busters that we used in Afghanistan in the cave systems. But here's what's going on behind the scenes. First of all, there will be no public announcements. Imagine, Doug, and I'll turn it right to you right now. I just want, because you're an analyst, imagine the ramifications when this comes out, if it comes out, but imagine the ramifications if we don't fight for our country and the political system. In essence, let me just share this. The Democrats flipped off the American people saying, we don't care what you vote. We know what's best for you. You know what that is? It's genocide. It's 250 million people dead. That's a Democratic plan. The bottom line is the Republicans, who are rhinos without spinos, by the way, 25 of them, the biggest mouthpieces against Trump, are on the Chinese payroll. But here, I want to share this. The president ordered the events, both B-52 and B-2 bombers helping. No public warning or announcement will be made other than a cover story of tests. They blew away the Michigan base and others to follow. This was the Michigan and then the Maine. I'm not sure yet which one came first, but 2 bases. Trump was all involved and ordered it. All bases will be bunker busted in the next 24 hours. I'm waiting to understand if that applies to Canadians. So here's what I want to tell everybody. If you hear loud explosions, if you start to seeing reports, even Daniel Holding sent me an email yesterday and said, man, he said, Steve, he's been in the Air Force, he's a vet, and he said, I saw a missile launch. Well, yeah, he did. And so we're trying to identify that target. So again, the other important thing, Doug, is this. This is the story behind the brazen attempt to overthrow the United States of America and balkanize us. Already, even Rush Limbaugh is saying on his radio program, I don't listen to it, I read some transcripts, but basically, are we seeing succession in the making? We're seeing the balkanization of the United States of America, or I'll say it this way, the balkanization of the disunited States of America. What will happen to Trudeau? That's my question. My military source says he'll either be taken out, flee to China, or disappear. I love my Canadian brothers and sisters. This has nothing to do with Canada. It has everything to do with Trudeau, his duplicity. And by the way, this agreement was in place before he even became prime minister. He just solidified it. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, in Canada, you know that your Prime Minister Trudeau sold all of Canada's gold stockpile supplies, all of it. I think you can look it up. I think there's like 20 maple leafs or something, $40,000 from hundreds of millions. He did the same thing. Now watch this, Doug. He did the same thing that Gordon Brown did when he became Prime Minister of Great Britain. He sold all of Britain's gold at the lowest point pretty much in that cycle. I think it was $300. And obviously then it went to $2,000. What these guys are, they pay their price to sell out their countrymen, just like ours are paying the price. We have a situation now that is a world war going on. India has just ramped up. The recriminations going back and forth. And by the way, you and I will never get the true accounts of war because the statement made, the first casualty in any war is truth. Due to psychological operations, physical operations, due to all the different nuances, the double crossing, triple crossing. But as we're on this program tonight, Doug, on your report, China and, India are hammering it out. Taiwan and China, Taiwan is taking down multiple fighters. Japan is sinking anything in its waters, whether it's military or fishing vessels, and they're taking anything over their territorial limits. They are taking out aircraft. President Putin, he will never admit it, he will never see it, but people, the truth always filters out. He's absolutely destroying the Chinese, which they supposedly have an agreement with. I mean, the Russians have lost maybe 350 men, and the Chinese are literally losing in the tens of thousands, along with their tanks. I think 1,500 of the tanks have been destroyed. 20 of their bombers have been destroyed. So here's the thing. How do we, Doug, and I'll turn it over to you, how do we get the attention of the people that this whole run-up to the election and the president's doing the right thing? And, I'll defer to you on all the legal stuff going on and stuff. But what I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, I coined a term years ago, circus distracticus, the distraction of a circus that keeps you focused on the different rings of what's going on. You never see the real ring. The greatest amulet, the hypnotist little swinging thing to hypnotize you is the stock market. We are watching, Doug, the disintegration. We have actually beheld it in 9 months of acceleration, the disintegration of the American economy, small business, the middle class assassinated, future hopes, dreams, and families destroyed. No hope on the horizon at this point if the what I call them the vaccinators, that's the vaccine terminators, have their way. Thank God people are rebelling against the mask of the beast. Thank God people are, and even Melinda Gates made the statement, well, we never considered the economic consequences. Of course not. You're the richest woman in the world. But for those who do have to consider, like day to day, how do I feed my family? And then, oh, by the way, where do I get the food to feed my family? Ladies and gentlemen, this is the lateness of the hour we're approaching. I take that back. I correct myself. Not approaching. We've entered into. The clock isn't counting down. Now the clock is speeding up. And so, someone says, well, if it doesn't appear in the New York Slimes, I won't read it.
Or insert whatever, media outlet that you wish in that. Yeah.
So here's the thing. My goal since I've been on talk radio and shortwave and blah, 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 25, 26 years now as we turn into the new year, was to warn the people of God, those who had ears, those who had eyes, ears to hear, eyes to see, and a heart for truth. I'm saying this to tell you, we're now facing a new solar storm, and this is relevant. The day, if you go to hear Doug and he's not on and nobody's on, and the internet's shut down for a week, what can they do in a week without any internet, without me communicating with your listeners, Doug, your platform, or vice versa? So this is where we're at, ladies and gentlemen. And again, I may not have said this clear enough. All bases of the Chinese will be bunker busted in the next 24 hours. People have been, sending me the stories. By the way, you guys, I appreciate it, but I usually see everything in real time. And if you think it's important, and I'm not saying don't send them, but please look at my website unless it's not being posted. Now, by the way, I apologize for today. The major importance, I don't think this is one of only a couple times in my whole years on the internet where I haven't posted enough stories because I didn't have any time. I was monitoring all this different data coming in. And by the way, Doug, this is not, how do I say this? This explains everything. It explains Russiagate. It explains putting the heat on Russia, even while it was the Clinton administration selling the uranium to Russia, but putting the heat on Russia, and look at how they double-crossed Russia to take the heat off the Chinese pre-positioned invasion of the United States. Go ahead.
Wow. All right. You said a whole lot there. Let me just kind of go back and I think the China issue is a big deal. All right. Obviously, it's a big deal. And if you look back over the last 4 years, but in particular over the last 2 years, what has President Trump been doing with respect to China? And that China, their economy, they want to overtake the U.S.'s economy right away. And you've heard I'm sure everyone has watched the video of that Chinese, it was a financial guy, I think, or a professor in China talking about the infiltration of the top echelons of all things in the U.S. But I think what's at stake here is, of course, the kinetic war that Steve is talking about. At the same time, with China realizing at this point that there is a possibility, and I believe this to be the case. There's a possibility. Well, let me backwards. Let me back up a little bit. The implausibility of Biden's election, which is clearly spelled out in the Texas lawsuit, 1 in 1 quadrillion for the states, for Biden to do what he did in the states in question, and 1 in quadrillion to the 4th power for all the states in question, Wisconsin, Michigan, Georgia, and so on, Pennsylvania included. It's impossible. It's implausible. In fact, I would say it's impossible. So having said all of that, clunkily, I might add, President Trump is looking at other possibilities at this point. This is the information that I'm looking at. Perhaps invoking the Insurrection Act. Now, the Insurrection Act, I just want to look at in real time something I got from a source. The Insurrection Act was invoked in this manner back in, hang on just one second, 1807. It was during the presidency of Thomas Jefferson, with the 10th Congress enacted the Insurrection Act of 1807, which was then signed by Jefferson into law to foil the plot of Revolutionary War hero Aaron Burr, following the destruction of his political career after he shot and killed Alexander Hamilton in a duel. This is how far back this goes. But this also butts up against what Steve is saying on the international level. There's something going on with China. And I was sent a map. Steve, I don't know if you have it posted on your internet or on your website or not. I was sent a map where the carriers, the U.S. carriers, are off both of our shores, the Atlantic and the Pacific, along with the nuke subfleets. And that's not usually done in the fashion in which it's done. I can't find the map. I know it's on another device.
I think, Doug, what everything we're seeing has never been done before. The massive amount of, C-17, I think they're called Starlifters or whatever, the biggest military cargo transport planes that's in the U.S. arsenal, along with the C-130s. We're seeing the deployment of military assets throughout the country. Because, ladies and gentlemen, whether you like it or not, the United States is going to be invaded. I don't like it. I don't want it. I pray against it. But guess what? We're a canker that's already been rotting from within. Doug, how could you even describe an emotional response when you understand the mainstream media is all on the Chinese payroll? How could you describe your response to knowing that everybody else you see in the day will be dead if the Chinese have their way? Again, this is what the Chinese say. This isn't what Doug and I say they say. Because, again, it's critical that people understand the lateness of the hour. 49, almost 50 years ago now, when I got saved, accepted Jesus into my heart, and I had a wonderful encounter with him in his resurrection, literal physical presence. He gave me the panorama of history. I didn't even understand everything that would be taking place, but I can tell you this, I saw the United States. I saw it absolutely. Certain states, like on the Atlantic coast, just ceased to exist. I saw the people running fleeing for their lives on the highways. They weren't driving their cars. There was no gas. There was no fresh water on the West Coast. So I'm really concerned because all of this goes hand in hand. And here's the point I want to make. Henry Gruver's vision and the Cascadia film that we did, basically our time together, not as obviously Henry had his vision before the film was made, but in the film when the Russians, the Chinese, when that whole crew comes against the West Coast to invade, that's the time Cascadia explodes with all volcanoes going active at the same time. And the literal flow of magma is what stops the land invasion. Understand what I'm saying? The eastern invasion that comes on the coast. The whole West Coast is toast. This isn't doom porn. Well, I don't believe in visions. If you don't believe in anything, die. I'm sorry. And that's so cruel. No, it's more important that 250 million people aren't butchered, slaughtered, mowed down, bulldozed, to me, than the sniveling little, what do I call them? Snot brats, okay? Snot brats. So the thing is that now we're at a time unlike any other. But not only are we, damned from within, all of the stories that are given to the mainstream media are all selectively utilizing neuro-linguistic programming. It's the old statement: tell a lie, tell a big enough lie, tell it enough times, and people will believe it. Attributed to Adolf Hitler, but I believe it's actually Goering or one of his Reich marshals that made that statement. But that's neither here nor there. The statement of Bill Casey, so many decades ago, that will know our effect at controlling the American people as is accomplished when everything they believe is a lie. That's why critical thinking's numbed down. That's why there's so much dope being used. That's why everybody's going to listen. The whole purpose, even in psychedelics, I don't know if you know this, but Silicon Valley's into a lot of psychedelics, is to divorce people from a, if you will, empiric reality and take you into a virtual fantasy, or ultimately take you into a world of non-reality, or, if you will, a hallucinogenic realm. So it's what's happening when people get all the money in the world and they don't have, they have nothing left to buy, nothing left to go, no place left to see. Then they want to get, and they're always trapped by this, they go in, the majority do, go into an evil spirit realm.
Eyes wide shut, brother.
And that's where we're dealing, ladies and gentlemen, with a full-scale demonic onslaught, fallen angel-controlled hand puppets that make policy. And we are in the time Jesus Christ himself spoke of, said there's never been a time like this, nor would be again, except the days be shortened for you and I who have come to know Jesus, and all who will come to know Jesus. There would be no flesh left alive. And so, Doug, this is the lateness of the hour. It's no longer the end days. I believe we're in the end hours. And I know that doesn't stack up with everybody's theology. But if the United States disappeared overnight, that doesn't make the rest of Bible prophecy. And I don't believe it will. But I believe that there will be selective judgments on the United States. You watch what happens to the West Coast. Isn't it interesting? The West Coast, look at their coziness with China. Interesting, isn't it? And look at Trudeau's coziness with China. And I've been told, point blank, the U.S. military sees Trudeau as a traitor. I've also been told, and I'm talking about the ones that are still believe in the Constitution and stuff, and the U.S. military has told the Canadian military to stand down because we are going to take their bunkers out wherever they find them. Go ahead.